Alright, we are going for Chapter 2 of Star Trek V, Final Frontier. I'm just trying to... Yeah, let me do that first. So, most of the chapter is concerned with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, but at the end we do cut back to Nimbus 3 with John, who is following Cybok, and he is not alone. There's about 100 people, they said, following him as well. But there's this line concerning John. For the first time in his life, he had purpose other than maintaining a meager existence. Read that, and all I could really think was, that man did not deserve his wife. I mean, if it's only now you feel that, it's like, what happened when you got married? I mean, you wanted only a meager existence for the two of you? Or did you not feel that purpose to be a good and supporting husband to your wife? Yeah. It, it, it's just there's that part of me with it that, kind of going back to how it was, she did love him and he should have known that for quite a while. Yes, still been stricken with grief, but not really much of a secret pain. Um, Now with this, it's like, I don't know. It just seems like he was truly undeserving of his wife. So why are you writing him this way? I don't get it. It doesn't make much sense to me. It really doesn't. And it's certainly not like oh well, now that she's gone, he really appreciates her. It's like, no, from the way he was talking about her before, he appreciated her, and he should not have been ignorant of that either, because she stayed with him. She could have left when it would have benefited her, but she chose to stay with him because of her love for him. I mean, unless it was he thought she was a fool, he knew. So, yeah, I don't... If he weren't an important character, and he is an important character, he's not one of the main characters, but he is an important character. If he weren't one, then I wouldn't care. But by giving him as much time as he's been given, and he's probably going to be the main lieutenant, if you will, to Cybok, the main follower for him, he is a significant character, so he should make more sense than this. He feels very shallow and is just, yeah, he needs to have this and this, so we're just going to write that for him, as opposed to, okay, well, how do these actually work together? How do they, fit together deeper down in him? It's like, yeah, we're not thinking about that. So, yeah, anyway. So going back to the other bit, this is set not long after Voyage Home. Don't have a specific time, though some of the stuff that is said is incorrect, but concerning Kirk climbing El Capitan, and also what was going on before, he'd finally gotten what he wanted, being demoted to just being a captain and getting the Enterprise, it's the Enterprise A, but getting that back. You'd think the man would be glad, but his demeanor aboard the ship was withdrawn, irritable, brooding. McCoy figured shore leave would solve it, and it did, to an extent, but now Jim's attitude had become reckless. I kind of have an idea for why, but I want to skip that for the moment, and just, it's a little weird because of how things are kind of spread out. I mean, still is, the chapter's written fine, I'm not complaining, it's just, short of actually writing up a script, it's a little tricky to go through, and plus I'm getting a little bit of a headache, I think. But yeah, just because I have the note about, why is this the case, and I think I got an explanation, but we'll get to that later. Sort of an explanation. Anyway. They were all in desperate need of shore leave, including the new ship, which had been slapped together so hastily that nearly half the crew had stayed behind to make her spaceworthy. I got problems with this, and one I'm only thinking about now. They had only recently in theory, they'd only recently gotten the new ship, which means for about a 3-month period, they were on Vulcan. The officers, the bridge crew, were on Vulcan. Doing nothing. They kind of already were on R&R. And then they had the whole voyage home stuff. Which, stressful, yes, but not battle stressful. So different. Save the planet. Now go through their trial, which, yes, stressful, but at the same time, they were home and apparently allowed to move about freely. So, again, kind of, sort of, R&R. Still stressful, don't get me wrong. But it's... I know, it feels odd there, but the ship had been slapped together so hastily that nearly half the crew had stayed behind to make her space-worthy. And it's like, okay, this doesn't make sense for Starfleet, and also doesn't make sense because the end of Voyage Home had them leaving space dock, so into space, meaning it was space-worthy, and, of course, sir, that away, Bones himself had said. So it clearly was space-worthy, and I don't know why Starfleet would have a ship not be. Plus the whole hastily pulled together, it's like, I doubt that. Constitution class is an older ship design. I know, I'm getting technical here, but it's an older ship design. Even the refit, by this point in time, would still have been older. So this would either be a ship being that has been built, was being built, and it's like, hey, you know what? Well, who's going to captain it? Well, we just lost one. You know what? Why don't we assign it to this dude who we've just demoted to captain, and you can just rename it the Enterprise and make it the Enterprise A. In which case, then it's just a new ship that needs shakedown crews and still work to be done in it potentially. That's fine. But it's still a ready ship, or it's an older Constitution class that was in to be refit or overhauled, which is still, it should be near spaceworthiness already. Well, it had to have been spaceworthy, but it's one of those things where it occurred to me that what is being described here is that the state of the ship is being described in a way that undermines it. And I hate that. It just feels lazy, because it's like, well, no, you have the ending of the previous story, and you're like, we're going to ignore that, or we're just going to say that didn't matter, that didn't count, and then move forward from where we want it to be. It's like, how about you not be that lazy, and actually come up with a good reason? Instead of just having something that is so clearly artificial. And there are different examples of this. For example, how... and I know I've talked about this before, in The Force Awakens, the situation that the Star Wars galaxy finds itself in seems to mean that, at the end of Return of the Jedi had no real meaning, no real significance. It's like, that sucks. I mean, it's like, why? Because Force Awakens is basically just a retelling, a fanfiction bad retelling of A New Hope. But for A New Hope to work, you need the Empire to exist, so we have to recreate the Empire, even though it should be the New Republic. But then, so the only way to have the new Empire is to have the New Republic be destroyed. It just is stupid. It's really stupid and undermining. But also reminds me, crap, I don't remember the name of it, but Tolkien had actually written, like, the first chapter for a sequel to The Lord of the Rings. And he didn't destroy it, but he did decide, no, this shall not happen, because The Lord of the Rings ended with evil being defeated. He couldn't write it when a new story where evil has returned, because it's like, that undermines the great sacrifices and triumph of the Lord of the Rings. It would undermine that completely, and he was right. So, no, you can't do that. And also, for further context with the Tolkien thing, it was set decades after, but a character that was going to be followed in it was he was a child at the time of the Lord of the Rings. So it's still, you had somebody who basically remembered the War of... Wait. No, that wasn't the War of the Ring. The War of the Ring was it was something else. I'm not sure what that Lord of the Rings would have been. The name for that war would have been, but it's still, you had somebody who remembered it, and part of his pain was seeing how some people had forgotten the evils then, and so he was seeing youths being attracted to worshipping Morgoth as kind of just a rebellious nature, but some who actually did believe it. So yeah. Anyhow, I feel like there might be another story like that, where it's sequel to something, and the only way it makes sense is to undermine what had happened before. It's like, no, that's don't do that. It sucks because you are undermining a triumph. So yeah, don't do that. Come up with something better, and that I feel is like what's happening here to the Enterprise A. So we get a little bit of an explanation here. I don't completely agree. I mean, it's later that I more so come up with why I think Kirk is acting the way he is, but he's climbing the mountain. Concentration was critical. A single instant of distraction, as a hesitation, one tiny slip, and death would be the inevitable outcome. He honestly enjoyed mountain climbing, just as he enjoyed whitewater kayaking, and perhaps for the same reason, because it forced him to not think. There was another the day before, he was kayaking with Bones and nearly got them both killed, according to Bones. And there were many things he wanted to avoid thinking about. The grief he still felt over the loss of his son David, and the fact that Carol Marcus still wanted nothing to do with him. Could only assume her silence was an accusation, a laying of blame. As I said with the voyage home and the fact that for 3 months she refused to talk with him, he dodged a bullet. I mean, seriously, she's just being cruel. This is not a good person. But it's also this more so than what I was saying in the previous chapter. This more so what I'm about to say is heartless. He has now had more time to mourn David than he knew David existed, or rather knew that David was his son. That I know is heartless, but there is still kind of the point that this is a man who has had to bury crew members that he'd known longer. True, not his son, but he had to bury Spock, technically. He had to bury Peter, and certainly various characters. There weren't too many. Well, that were in the original series. But what was it, about 90 or so of the crew of the Enterprise he had to bury? And this he's struggling so much with. And it's like, yeah, I'm not, no. He should be better at that and not be still so reckless. And going back to the whole, he had 3 months on Vulcan to work it out. 3 months also with Saavik, who he would be able to talk to. If nothing else, she was there. She saw his death. He would have had time to ask her about it. And I could believe it would confuse her for a while, or even cause her pain, but I could believe that there would be him going to her to hear it again. Constantly hearing that story of how he died, which would suck for her. But I think eventually she would recognize, even without somebody explaining it to her, it's helping him grieve as part of his grief process. So the fact that it's like, nope, he's still there mentally and emotionally, it's like, it annoys me. Whatever. We do get an explanation for why Spock has the levitation boots they're referred to here. I think in the movie they're anti-grav boots, but either way, it's because he was interested in looking at the trees there, the ancient sequoias in Yosemite Park, and was using those to go up and inspect the full height of them. And Bones, seeing him come back, was like, come here, go over and talk to Kirk. Which, by the way, aside from the just interior monologue kind of stuff, and that's basically the only addition to the chapter here, that isn't from the perspective of the movie. It's the only thing not in the movie. But we also do get this. Captain Spock said, I do not think you realize the gravity of the situation. Follows with, lately Spock had devoted himself to understanding and, God help the rest of them, occasionally attempting Earth humor with painful results for all concerned. Because of the pun he had just made. And it's like, I didn't have a highlight for that. And it's like, him trying to make the jokes, I feel, follows from his time being merged with McCoy. Like the joke he delivers at the end of Voyage Home. Which I actually don't remember if I ever actually said what that was. Just was referencing it. Just about how Bones needs to be patient. Oh, that's right, you're a doctor, not a patient. And it's just very dry kind of joke there. And it's, even Bones was like, did I actually hear that? But it's that I interpreted as a bit of Bones being left in him. And I could see him now studying it because he has some greater curiosity for Earth humor, which is also technically a problem there, but regardless, the idea that he is intentionally making jokes, I'm not sure how much I like. I feel like if they come out, they would be more so by accident. Not that he would disagree with them, that he is making them, but it is just like, oh, yes, I did actually say that. Oh, well, yes, I said it, kind of thing, versus I'm plotting this out, and here is the joke that I believe will be of maximum humor. Don't think he'd be doing that. Or being like, the gravity of the situation. Oh, that was a lousy joke. I shouldn't have said that. I don't think so. But him trying to study and understand it, that I can believe. That I think makes sense. All right. Okay, so what I put in my notes for maybe the explanation for why Kirk is doing this is he, as a Starfleet captain, was constantly making decisions that affected the whole of the crew. And he was good at it, but still that's what he was constantly doing. As Admiral, not so much, but he had to constantly become captain again, take command of a starship, but still this was no longer his role. Now he's had that role put on him again. Even though it is his best place, his true vocation, it still is, he is now, he now has that responsibility again. That great responsibility of choosing of making decisions that will impact directly the lives of the people around him. So I could believe that he is doing this stuff because being so reckless, because he is... Crap, how did I actually put in there? It's not a death wish. It's... Yeah. Okay. Oh, self-destructive, that's right. That he is being self-destructive as though tempting harm, tempting death on himself, where it's only himself who would be at risk, is easier for him. That it is kind of weird, and I don't have enough psychology background to explain it, as I wish I could. But I think that that's basically what's going on here, is he is acting self-destructively because he knows he may be responsible for the destruction of people around him. And, he's wanting to make sure that he still has a grasp on being able to make those decisions and to just react with those decisions, as opposed to thinking them through. And I could see, because the mention's also there about the whole, he lost David, he lost Carol, never really had her, but he lost the Enterprise. And it's like, yeah, you lost the Enterprise, but again, 3 months ago. But it's just I could see it being that he had to think about, and it's just he wants to give up the thinking, but not give up the making the right calls. So yeah, I think it's something like that. That this is not a death wish. He is not trying to die, but he is trying to push himself to the point of danger. It is self-destructive. It is unhealthy, but it is, I think, might be born of the whole he is unsure if he still has it. Because there's a difference from, I'm an admiral, and I was a legendary captain, and on occasion I can step back into the center seat. I can be there, and I can do this. He's like, that's one thing versus a, shit, this is actually my 9 to 5 now. I mean, I was good at it before. Am I good at it now? So, I guess it's not a great way to put it, but there's that episode of The Next Generation where we learned that Picard had been stabbed through the chest by a Nausicaan when he was in the academy. And by him facing death like that helped him become a captain. That if he never had that experience, he would never have pushed boundaries because he was always just so conservative. He was so concerned about, he would be so concerned about death that he would run from it. He would be, as I said, too conservative. Which is also kind of funny because Picard is still kind of a conservative captain compared to others, but still, it's kind of like Kirk is concerned that he lost that mode of thinking, lost that edge. I don't really like that word for it, but kind of fits. And now he's like trying to rush it back. Like he had a lifetime of building up. Lieutenant commander, and then ultimately captain. All those years building up to being in that role. And then he is out for a few years, and now he's thrust back in it, 9 to 5, as I said. I could see he's unconsciously trying to build himself back up to that. Not healthy, but I could see that being the explanation. Oh, like a fear that while this is the best thing, his true vocation, as true as that is for him, that is he still worthy of it? Is he still good at it? And that he is testing himself in these other ways. I could see that being the case. And that, by the way, that could work for a secret pain, by the way. Because it's essentially, he doubts himself, but it's something that he himself wouldn't necessarily verbalize. He might not even be aware of it himself. He just feels an urge to do these things, therefore he does them. I could see that being what his secret pain is, but based on the movie, we know he rejects Sybok and says, no, I need my pain. Pain is part of who we are. But it's also kind of funny in that technically with that moment, if I am correct and he is conscious of that, like he's saying, I need my pain. You can only say that if you know what your pain is. So it would be almost like catch-22, where Sybok doesn't need to reveal his pain. He knows what it is, and therefore he does confront it, just internally and privately. So, yeah, there's another way I want to try putting it about Sybok, and it'll be interesting to see how the story continues. Because in a way, there's almost a perversion of confession with Sybok. The idea of confessing your secret pain to him, and you will see it go away. But that's not quite how it works, because there's need to be contrite of heart, sin no more, and also penance. And with kind of not seeing that, I mean, it's like we confront your secret pain, and now do what I want you to do when you're good. It's like, it's not quite it. So, yeah, it's... I don't know, but I could still see there being, with Sybok, certain perversions, not perversions. It's not the wrong word, but it has a charge to it that we don't need. let's just say, twisting or warping of rites, rituals, and sacraments found in human religions. I could definitely see that being the case here. I could also see it being more subtle, where that's never actually stated, but I could see that being there. And in a way, it would make sense, just as far as storytelling goes, to have it be near but a little off, because it sort of falls into that uncanny valley kind of thing, where it becomes recognizable, but maybe only on a subconscious level, where it's like, oh yeah, that looks a lot like this, but you know it's off somehow. And so that makes a human that's familiar with the stuff uneasy. Because it's like, that's near it, but it's wrong. And if it can also be done just right to maybe it's wrong, but I'm not sure how to verbalize why it's wrong or how it's wrong. So, yeah, it is a little interesting there. So, I'm trying to think with John, how would that work as a way to put it? Sort of. Nah, I don't really like it, so maybe I shouldn't say it. But almost like if John confessing his grief, to Cybok, if that were like a man confessing to a living saint, kind of thing. It's like, yeah, sure, that makes sense, but the living saint is supposed to help you and not be like, good, now help me. Not quite how that's supposed to go. Because it's not supposed to be for the benefit of the saint. So yeah, there's that, and there's also the whole, as I said in the previous video, technically this is something that just a good friend could help John through. You don't need somebody special like Cybok, just somebody who's there and cares. So yeah, it's that kind of thing where it's still kind of good, but it's being twisted to serve Cybok's ends instead of helping the person, and that being it is about helping them. So yeah, it's anyway. I'm just trying to think. I know I'm only 3 chapters in, counting the prologue as chapter. I could believe I may come to feel that the story is, as far as what is written, is well written. Like the quality of the writing is good. Not necessarily impressive, but good. It's just some of the details in there might irk me a little bit. Might be, yeah, this doesn't make sense. Yeah, that doesn't work. Or what I was just saying, it might just be kind of uncanny valley, and we'll see how that goes. But I can also believe that, no, as we keep going, it'll continue to just be like, why is this here? This doesn't make sense. I mean, like the whole thing with Nimbus 3, and it's like, it should be incredibly wealthy because of its position, that all 3 of these empires want it. These 3 powers, great powers, want it. Yeah, so we'll just... I'm just trying to think, is there a real location in the world that is like that? I feel like there is. I'm just not placing it. You know, something where it's like it's a port city, that it's like the only location and the best location to connect a whole bunch of places, and just it's basically on the borders of multiple things as well, and it, because of that reason, becomes immensely powerful and wealthy on its own. But I cannot think of what it is, but I do believe such a place exists. It's late. I got a little bit of a headache. I'm going to blame it on that. Also, geography was not really my strong suit, so it was that. All right. See you next time.